if you fall off the horse per se, I just had to get it out of my system almost and like work through it, do my best, keep showing up, and then slowly try to turn my energy, turn my vibe back to, calmer, abundant, letting it happen, focusing on the setups. But that, cost me some money, right? I blew the accounts that I had built for months and months since, Thanksgiving-ish time they had been building. And so then I had to reset and rebuild. And now I'm back up to trade copying the same amount and requesting payouts from both companies again.
Hey, welcome back. Here at the Market Mamas podcast, I cover a wide range of topics from the intricacies of day trading to mindset mastery and psychological growth, with the goal of the conversations being next level growth for all of us. My name is Becky, and I'm a US-based futures day trader from the Pacific Northwest. My trading experience includes trading stocks, options, crypto, and futures, with both trading a personal account as well as with prop funding companies. Over time, I found that I most enjoy the fast-paced world of intraday futures trading, so that is my primary day trading focus now. Thank you for joining me on the Market Mamas podcast today.
Hey guys, so hosting a Market Mamas podcast that kind of focuses on the psychology of being a growing trader has been a really interesting experience, to say the least. So Market Mamas has been live for about 1.5 years now. We started with my partner and I, Kendra, created the podcast. And she stepped away in winter of 2024-25, around the new year. And so now it's just me. And it's been unique, right? So to figure out what to share, how to share it, what the value might be, what has helped me grow the most, what I think would help people, what people want to see, what people, like what's trendy. Like it's such a weird, like mind F, honestly, of an opportunity, because I know what has helped transform me. And I know the hard times that I've gone through and the winning times that I've gone through. And so I guess with every episode, I'm just trying to like dial it into what I think brings the most value. But I think it's honestly really interesting to just hear about people's experience. And I don't know that I share like enough of that or much of that that's like really just open, authentic, like, who am I? How do I trade? What does that look like? What are my outcomes? How am I surviving in this game? So I kind of want to just talk a little bit about my experience and what has got me here. So in spring of 2025 will be 4 years I've been a trader. And I started learning and I just knew nothing. And so it was a huge amount. It's a huge world to like get into, right? And so now in the last couple of years, I've really learned a tremendous amount. I have consistent setups. I know what I want to trade and how that looks like, what my trading hours are, how I want to treat the business, what appropriate risk is, which funding companies to partner with. And so there's so many things to learn. I started trading my own money, and then prop funding companies really kind of blew up after I started trading. And so then I started with one, and I got caught up in a lot of their rules that seemed to change weekly and needed to pivot to different ones. And so, I'm finding my niche over time, and I'm figuring out what speaks to me. And I think that is kind of the crux of how day traders have to learn and grow and pivot in this world, right? We have to just take in so much what other people are doing, what mentors are doing. Is this a good mentor? Does this system speak to me? Can I trade it? Am I missing something? Do I need to learn more? Which friends that I have met empower me and which weigh me down and cause extra noise. You have to trim out the noise, and you have to only allow space in your life for the people that really bring value, especially if you're like me and you have a family, right? I'm the mom of 3 kids. And so obviously my family has to take priority. And so I always have to work around their schedules. And so then with trading and other work pursuits, such as when I'm a nurse or working on the podcast, I really have to dial it in and only give my energy to things that serve me. And so that had made me more particular, I guess you could say, with what I want in my life and what I just don't have time for, which is kind of a great place to be. I think there's something to that of being, older compared to how I was in my 20s. I would be more into people pleasing and like the trendy things. And now I'm like, fuck that. Like, I want to know what's good, what's valuable, what helps me. And if you're not good for me, if I don't like your energy, if you're not helping me move the dial forward in the direction that I want to go, like, best wishes, take care, goodbye. And so that's how I've approached my trading as well. And I have to say that it's working, right? So both my mentor, Jermaine, just almost 3 years, shy of 3 years now, And he has really kind of evolved with us in his teaching style and how he trades and what he recommends for us. And that has been really transformative for me in terms of how I have grown and see the markets and choose to trade. And so in 2024, the year opened with the most profitable I've ever been leading to that point, right? I started taking my first payouts end of January of last year. And I kept payouts going for 2 months. And that was kind of amazing. Like, it was kind of a world opened up for me. Like, shoot, I can be profitable. And then I had hard times and I lost that and wasn't profitable for several months, honestly. And so I had kind of a boom and bust in 2024 once I started getting profitable. It was profitable for a few months. Couple months I wasn't. Then I got back to being green. And then everything went down with my prop funding company in the fall of 2024. And I recognized that that was just not a healthy or safe relationship for the company that I'm using as my financier, essentially. I needed to be with a company that honored their rules and was more reliable with me. And so I switched funding companies and reworked it, learned new systems, and then was getting profitable again. And so I think to anyone who is also kind of getting towards profitability or has had some payouts and has seen some rewards for all of your work, for me and for people that I know, I think that's a normal part of the process is getting some wins and then struggling a little bit, right? That's the saying, new level, new devil. Once you get payouts, you get a little bit of a high from it. And you're like, I can do this. I have arrived, like money is coming. I want to do all of these things. But if you are not super diligent on process and emotional and psychological management during that period, it's so easy to get caught up in almost like a greed cycle or a reaching or not being as careful or almost like not wanting to accept defeat. And so making that, for me, I didn't want to go back to not getting paid. And so I would take almost riskier trades. Like, I would be less of a tight risk manager during those periods where I stumbled. And that was the opposite of what I needed to do, right? Like, you need to keep doing what you did to get yourself paid, being tight, being consistent, having a process, managing your risk well. That is what I do when I'm in my successful periods. And so if I fall into any of those traps where I am trying to hold on too tightly to profits, or I'm not giving myself enough credence for what I'm going through emotionally or in some other aspect, that's when things can get messy. And it's pretty easy to really cause some damage to accounts. And so I think that what has changed going from 2024 into 2025 is that I recognize that these periods of struggle in between the periods of profitability are getting smaller, which is kind of great. Each time that I've had a point where I've stopped getting consistent payouts and had to reset, that was 4 or 5 months, I would say, last spring and into summer, coupled with my back injury. And then it was like 2 months in the mid fall. And then it was just a couple weeks. And then, that too is progress. I don't think anything has to be like, I'm doing it perfectly always, or I'm not. Like, it's going to be bumpy, right? Like, that's, I think, the journey of day trading and learning something really hard is that when you think that when I have thought that I have really figured out things and I'm consistent, nothing is perfect all the time, and to really give extra weight to being careful with that. And that has been something that I've had to really embrace and recognize that perfection is not at all the goal. We actually have an episode, Progress Over Perfection, right, on Market Mamas, because that is critical, I think, to longevity in this game, is to, and in a lot of things, right, is to just respect the fact that you just have to try hard and pay attention and be careful and cautious and study and respect your process. And it doesn't have to mean always perfect executions. It doesn't have to mean you're green every day. It just means that you really treat this as a business, and some weeks might be lower. But as long as you keep the pressure on the right things, keep the right people around you, you can get back on track. And this last year, I had my most profitable ever, January and February of 2025. Actually, I was requesting payouts sometimes multiple times a week from different companies. I trade Bulinox and TopStep are my 2 funding companies that I'm using right now. And I will trade them both, and I will trade copy within them both. And so the wins that I get really can exponentially be magnified because it's taken in multiple accounts at the same time. And so the money can kind of really start to build up for me, once I got a sustainable process and trading setups that I really liked, I would start using the copier and kind of filter, add in more accounts as I earn them and let it grow. And so in January and February, I was requesting payouts every week at a minimum from different accounts, just based on when the accounts went live and when they were filtered into my copying. And I kind of liked that. It was a really great flow of like, something is always coming up to the point where you could withdraw. And part of what helped me sustain that, I think, in hindsight, I was preparing for this episode and kind of thinking about my journey, is just not overthinking it, not putting emphasis on the money, right? If you overthink about, I want this much money and I need to have this much win in a day in order to meet this threshold, can add too much pressure on you. Say you're trading an eval account and you're only $500 from nailing it and advancing it to a master account. You could not be willing to accept a $500 win that day. And what if you get a nice, easy trade, but the logical take profit places at $400, right? What do? Do you try and push it and just hope that it will go farther, like many trades do, right? Or do you lock it in at the logical place and then see potentially if there's another setup later, or let it happen tomorrow? I've done both. The more conservative, logical answer of trade your process has been what has been most successful. And so not really micromanaging the amount that is in any of my accounts, and more so just trying to take a good trade, wanting to see a good setup, recognizing where my risk would have to be and where my targets would be if I'm scaling out, and just trade the setup each day. And some days I'll get, 50 points on the Dow Jones. Sometimes I'll get 300 points. Recognizing that, any day that I trade my process is a win. And if I just don't worry about the money, the P&L, and let it flow, I was finding that it was just flowing, right? Like it can compound if you're focused on being a good trader. And I think that I have said that, and I have heard that many times over my journey as a trader. But once you start to feel it and you see the outcomes and you see how that actually looks like, with your accounts and with your bank accounts, it sinks in deeper. It hits a little harder, right? I mean, the proverb is, necessity is the mother of invention, right? And so when you recognize something isn't serving you and you approach it differently, and then you let it grow, you feed into the different ways that you think you need to go, then that transition can really lead you to better places. That being said, I stumbled again end of February and early March. I just got into a place where I was very emotional and upset and frustrated about, the fact that my life is so busy. And sometimes I just, there's the constant, am I doing enough? Am I doing the right things? Am I prioritizing everything correctly? And even the logical part and the people that are closest to me, really had my back in those moments and was like, yo, chill, you're doing great. Settle down. But I think, if you fall off the horse per se, I just had to get it out of my system almost and like work through it, do my best, keep showing up, and then slowly try to turn my energy, turn my vibe back to, calmer, abundant, letting it happen, focusing on the setups. But that, cost me some money, right? I blew the accounts that I had built for months and months since, Thanksgiving-ish time they had been building. And so then I had to reset and rebuild. And now I'm back up to trade copying the same amount and requesting payouts from both companies again. But just look at that, right? And so the biggest, longest, most substantial payout cycle was early this year. And then there was another fall, and that only lasted a couple weeks, which was the amount of time that it took to like really pay some reset fees and then find my vibe again, where I was just not micromanaging the P&L and letting it take time, as my very wise trainer, Amy, says, letting it come back to me and focusing on what I know how to do that has got me to the successful periods. And so just by studying myself, by journaling my trades, by speaking to the people in my inner circle, it reminded me of how I know how to trade, what that looks like, and what has got me to the success that I've gotten to in the past. And it was shorter. It was a shorter like reboot, right? And so I think the more times that we show up, the more days that we trade, that we study, that we backtest, that we talk to other traders, it's essentially just skin in the game. It's experience. It's teaching us, even when we're not directly studying, just exposure to the markets and trading and podcasts like this, that bring up conversations and ways that we can grow. It does all add up. It changes who we are. I have changed as a person with every chance that I've had to be exposed to the market and people who I really am inspired by and who I want to be as a trader, for the long haul. And so being able to respect the fact that I need to be patient and trust myself, and recognize that if I've done it before, then I'll do it again, and to just kind of take deep breaths, center myself, work on my psychology. And so that looks like, reading and listening to powerful content, that helps kind of calm me down. At this point, I don't need a ton more technical skills, because I have a mentor for that and I study for that. And I have setups that I really understand pretty well. I have tools that I prefer, and I can see multiple setups every day that I can choose to capitalize on. And so it's not so much the technical. Once you get a couple years in the game and you've taken hundreds of successful trades, thousands, I don't even know. It's more so just recognizing for me who I am, what my triggers are for stumbling. Like if I'm carrying over weight from a conversation or a worry or something, if I'm carrying any negativity, it just makes me not as effective at my charts, right? And so I have gotten better at respecting my internal status, and abstaining or leveraging down when I'm not at my best, and speaking to people when I need help, saying when I'm struggling, and getting some feedback and working with it. And so that patience has been helpful with this reset, and kind of just, knowing that I'm worth it. The Amanda Francis that I have mentioned, I had an episode about, like, one of her key signature statements is, you're worthy because you are. And I think that that's really true. Like, we're all worthy of our biggest dreams. And the fact that we can dream them, that they're in the back of our minds as a potential for us, means that we can do them. Like, I know enough. There's opportunities out there. There's funding companies, there's technical analysis, there's gurus, there's support online. Like, the availability for me to be a wildly successful trader is absolutely out there in the ether. And so if that is what I'm really dedicated at, I think I just need to keep doing like I'm doing. I need to show up and trade my system, trade my setups and my process, and respect the journey that I'm on. And that, the fact that my periods that I have needed to reset in between periods of success and profitability are getting smaller. And I'm zeroing in on what serves me in those moments to help me reset, which is that, faith in the long term and knowing how everything compounds when I let it take time and when I let it come. That puts me more at ease with taking small losses and small wins certain days, knowing that, if that's all that I can get, if that's all that I can see clearly, if my time is up, I need to do something with the kids. That small win, that small loss is a great part of my journey, right? As long as the losses are small, I can have small wins and I can have big wins, and I can get paid. That is an algorithm for profitability into my bank account. And so I don't have near as much FOMO or greed anymore, because I think I've experienced enough of, honestly, financial gains from trading, which sounds some kind of way, but that's like the reality, is that I have got financial gains over the last year, that have shown me that I don't have to be greedy or anxious or FOMO or chasing or have to have a big win every day in order to be profitable. And I think that that's something we all know, but it doesn't sink in as much until we understand. So until we've felt the outcomes. And so I feel like now I just want to take, high confidence bites out of a move that I understand, a setup that I have seen. I don't want to just get any kind of trade. I want to let a trade that speaks to me set up, and then I want to take a high confidence piece of it, because I know that that is my ideal day, not getting the first trade of the day or getting a huge win or taking it from, 2-band to 2-band, but to allow my system to compound and amplify itself. And to know that I'm diversified by trading different funding companies and taking, just 1 or 2 contracts, but then across multiple accounts, that really compounds. So if you guys trade funding companies, that if you take, a 100-point trade, but you're copying that to 8 accounts, you took 800 points. So you don't withdraw obviously 800 points, in one lump sum because it's spread out over those accounts. But the funding companies want you to slowly build the accounts anyways. And you can't just withdraw money all the time from those two companies that I trade with anyways. And so that's not the goal anyways. But if you can recognize that spreading that out and then trading every day, your best moves, that really has been powerful for me in terms of creating just piles of money. And then I skim off the top as this time comes around, as the payout cycles come around. And so then I don't have to be greedy, right? I don't have to, want to plan this dream vacation next winter. So I need to take a 500-point day with my executions. That there's a better system than that for me, like I don't even have to worry about the points, to be honest. I guess the point of it is that I don't worry about the points anymore to the best of my ability, right? I'm still a human and I like looking at big numbers, right? But I don't have to in order to reach goals, because I just want to take a successful trade. And then I have seen the power of what that looks like when spread out over across this system. So knowing that it's a smarter system for me, and I can kind of settle down, I can be intentional, and I can be calmer. That has helped me, not go in too heavy, not hold too long. There's that saying, right? Fuck around and find out. Like, I don't need to do that. I don't need to F around and find out, because I just want to find something that looks too good to be true with a tight risk and take it, 2 to 1 R to R and feel good and know that that still was a quick and easy trade. And I can go about the rest of my life and have that balance for family, gardening, podcasting, whatever. And that for me feels like trader maturity. And I can't say that I'm a mature trader being 4 years in. I have surpassed goals that once seemed so far away. And I know that they're just steps on the ladder. And that's so exciting to me. It makes me want to learn and study and try more, because I know that there's so much potential with it. I have respected the game enough to hold to my process and dig in deeper and study my butt off and keep working at the same process day after day and leaning on the same things that I know have changed me for the better. And as it is growing and kind of developing in a little bit of an insidious kind of sneaky way over time, that is turning me into the trader that I want to be. And the potential from there is massive, right? And so I think I'm really, really grateful for where I've gotten to. And I respect the fact that it's really hard. And I have had so many struggle days, and I've leaned on different people over the years. But the main thing is that I decided many years ago not to quit and to keep studying day trading. And it works if you don't quit and if you get good people in your corner. And so I would encourage everyone, if you're pushing through that and you're getting to a place where it's starting to work, don't quit and lean into what serves you. We all know, right? We all know when we see a really good setup and we capitalize on it and we're smart with it, we're tight with our risk management. We did not risk our accounts in that day, and we kept our deep breaths and our calm, and we walked away when our trading session was over and had balance in our lives. You know that feeling, right? That feeling of I'm doing my intention. I'm following my trading business plan. And that is effective. Well, no one is perfect. I'm far from perfect. I don't think it's reasonable to expect to do it every day, all the time, especially when you're still dialing it in. But when you can feel that you're doing it right, I would say lean into that, as I have done, because it makes me crave more of it, right? When you eat healthy and you work out and you feel stronger and you're looking slimmer in the mirror, that right there is another example of, this is who I want to be. So I want to do more of that. I crave a workout and a really nice balance, steak and salad dinner, because it fuels the part of me that I'm really enjoying, and I'm seeing the progress come. And that's the same thing for my trading accounts, right? So I think that kind of that's my update, I guess, is 2024 was profitable, not. And the periods of stumble and lull and fear and scarcity are getting smaller. They're getting tighter. The one that I've had this year lasted about a month through March. And in April, I'm back at requesting payouts from 2 different funding companies and feeling strong as ever and understand my system better. And even through the volatile markets right now, I have been able to be super cautious with it and trade my system effectively. And that is empowering as well, because even through a changing market condition, knowing that my system is flexible enough to work with that, and that my people are just right at my backside supporting each other, it's amazing. So I think I'm here to stay. Thanks for watching Market Mamas. I really welcome all feedback. Let me know what you want me to talk about. I day trade the futures instrument for the Dow Jones is my daily bread and butter. But I have traded many other things, and I know I want to expand. And I am also kind of swing trading an ETF for the Dow as well as SPY. So that's kind of my main expertise and what I'm doing now to get paid. But I am open to what everybody else is doing. I kind of want to know about your guys' experience. And then I'm totally willing to share and grow with us, because day trading is hard enough and there's a lot of fluff out there. And I just have been really kind of open with where I'm at and what I've gone through. And I want to be there for anyone who needs to hear it, I guess. So help me pick my brain and let me know what you want to hear. Otherwise, thanks for all the support and love that I do get at Market Mamas, because, I think we can elevate women and, anyone who's not in their young 20s, because let you know a little secret. My age starts with a 4 as of last year. So that's special. But they say that most people really start achieving wealth into their 40s. So let's go. Take care, everyone. And thank you so much for being with me. And as the saying goes, our best trading days are ahead. And last week I had a sick win that was really a high P&L day for me. So I think that is absolutely true. Our best trading days are ahead for those of us that are sticking with it, because we are learning, growing, and doing more and more over time. And that is our right to keep building it, right? That's normal, healthy thing to expect. Again, as Amanda Francis says, overflow can happen. We can have overflow. We can have more based on what we put out there and what we want back and the energy that we give it. So I'm going to keep doing that. Take care, everyone. Bye.